Hey everyone, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm happy to have you here with me today. We are going to be making breakfast this morning. We are going to make a potato hash right here, and you'll be able to find this recipe over on my website, which I'll link down in the show notes. And we are also going to make some Scotch scones out of this My Better Homes and Garden Cookbook from 1935. It is time to pull out my vintage cookbooks and start making recipes out of them. I love cooking out of these cookbooks in the wintertime because it kind of helps to reignite some joy in cooking for me. It makes it fun. One of the things that I love doing is trying to research where the cookbooks came from and a little bit about their previous owners. It's so much fun. We did a little bit of that over the winter last year, and you guys really enjoyed that too. So we're going to start getting into doing some vintage recipes every week here on my channel. I thought that the scones would make a really nice addition to our breakfast with our eggs and our potato hash this morning and make it nice and filling. This is a little bit of a fridge dump version of this recipe. The recipe that I have in my cookbook is really great, but it is also super adaptable to whatever you have in your fridge. So we're gonna throw in potatoes, of course. I have some mushrooms today, onions and peppers, some rather sad looking little tomatoes we're gonna throw in there as well. We're also going to add chipotle pepper and paprika along with salt and pepper, and then we're gonna top it with some cheese. For the meat, we are going to fry up some ground beef and season that, and also fry up some pork belly as well. So it's going to be super filling. So we're gonna get started with getting all of these veggies cooked up because the potato hash does take between 30 and 45 minutes to cook. So I wanna get that in the oven. The scones don't take that long to come together. Fortunately, they all cook at around the same temperature, which is 425 degrees. So while this is cooking, I can pop the scones in and cook them at the same time, which is super handy. I have a bunch of, I think I showed you guys this when we were harvesting our potatoes, really tiny little potatoes here, which is going to be kind of convenient because I can just throw those right into our pot hole. These are scrubbed already, so I don't need to scrub them, which is handy. So we'll grab our tray and just throw all these little tiny potatoes right in. I think we'll split ones this size in half. This recipe is one that you can adjust to the size of your family. So the base recipe for this calls for 8 potatoes, which is a lot for most families. But the nice thing about this is it does freeze nicely, and you can just pop it out, pop it in the microwave or warm it up in the stove to have a nice easy breakfast or lunch for a little bit later on. One of the things that I do when I'm making a potato hash is I cook up my potatoes first for about 30 minutes. That one's a little bit green. And that way they can soften up a bit before I add my other veggies like my peppers and my mushrooms, and in this case, my tomatoes. And that way I don't end up cooking the softer vegetables till they're mush. So I usually add them in towards the end of the cooking time. And one of the other things that I like to do, you can absolutely throw your onions and your garlic right in to your pan and cook them with your potatoes. But I like to fry those up so they get caramelized. It just makes the flavor better, in my opinion. So I'm gonna make 2 pans of these for this morning. One of the nice things about this time of year is because the sun rises fairly late and increasingly so up until the solstice. And I never miss a sunrise because in the summertime it comes up so early that I often end up missing it. It has been sunny and beautiful just about every day, and it has been much appreciated by me. I am somebody who really thrives off of sunshine. We are going to add a couple of tablespoons of olive oil to each of these pans. And then we will cover these up with some tin foil. All right, so now we're gonna throw in 2 cloves of garlic. We are going to get our beef frying over on the pan. And we're going to cut up our pork belly here. I highly recommend cutting your pork belly when it is not fully thawed, because if you're doing it like I'm doing it right now, where it is fully thawed, it is kind of mushy and a little bit harder to cut, especially if you're using a dull knife like I am apparently currently doing. So we're gonna get our onions frying up over here, and we're going to add our garlic once our onions are just about fully caramelized, because garlic tends to burn. It just cooks up much faster than the onions do. Once the beef has fried up a little bit over there, I'm going to add this pork belly to it. To get our peppers and our tomatoes and our mushrooms chopped up and ready to go. I'm just going to give these a quick wash first. There are some beautiful veggies to add. So we're going to add all of our veg in with our onions. Whoops. Let those just cook up a little bit. Going to add a whole bunch of paprika to that, along with a little bit of chipotle pepper powder. Not too much, but it adds a really nice flavor. We don't want too much heat though. Salt, pepper, a little splash of water to this, and turn off our heat on our veggies, and we'll let the meat here keep cooking for another 15 minutes while our potatoes finish up in the oven. I did a small bulk order from Horizon Distributors, and it came in yesterday. And one of the things that I got was baking powder. So this is organic baking powder. I can get it for a way better price from excuse me, Horizon Distributors than I can from anywhere else. I got a big bag of Redmond sea salt. This is the first time I have tried Redmond salt before, but like many of you, I have heard lots of good things about it. And when I did my Costco shop I think about 6 weeks ago now. And I shared that with you. I was talking about the prices of shampoos, and many of you mentioned making my own shampoo. So I looked into it, and most homemade shampoos are made with a base of Castile soap. And so I looked at buying large jugs of Castile soap like this and making my own shampoo. But I found these big jugs of organic shampoo, and I checked them out, and all the ingredients were fine with them. And price-wise, it wasn't more expensive to just buy the ready-made stuff like this than to buy all the ingredients that I would need to make my own shampoo. So I did buy 2 jugs of this and a big 10-kilogram bag of popcorn, which is over on the table. And then I also bought a case of nutritional yeast. Whenever I'm going to be buying bulk stuff like this, I try not to buy it in just one large bag, and then because then I have to repackage it into smaller usable bags myself anyway. So I prefer to buy a case, but with the individually packaged smaller size packages in them, because they stay fresh longer, and then it saves me the time of having to do it on my end. So I bought these, and we use nutritional yeast to make salad dressings and as a topping on popcorn. It's really good. So I'm just going to move all this stuff out of the way, and then we'll get into making our scones. One of the reasons that I love cooking out of these old cookbooks is because the recipes are simple. So unlike modern day cookbooks that have a lot of more complicated, harder to find ingredients, old cookbooks are not, because a lot of the cookbooks that I have are between around 1920 and the late 1950s. And during that time period, there was a lot of economic difficulty in the world. There was war going on and things like that. So people didn't have a lot of money. And so recipes were designed around thriftiness. They were also designed around easy to acquire ingredients, because things weren't being shipped in from all over the world in the same way that they are now. So that's one of the reasons that I love them. I'm also a very nostalgic person, so I find holding old cookbooks and reading the notes that are in them. So almost every cookbook that I have, vintage cookbook, has handwritten notes from the previous owners. Some of them even have names in them, and I've been able to do some research and find out some information about the people, which has been so much fun. We'll probably do some of that again this winter like we did last winter. This one sadly does not have a name in it, but there are lots of notes. One of the things that I've done is I just ordered a 3-ring binder with some clear sleeves in it, because a ton of these recipe books came with newspaper clippings and handwritten recipe cards and things like that in them. So I'm going to put them all into plastic sleeves so they can stay protected, but also it's a lot easier to actually use the recipes rather than having to flip through envelopes full of old recipes. But I'll show you that once I have that all put together. Okay, where did our recipe go here? I just lost it. Where did it go? Ah, there it is. So we're going to do 4 cupfuls, as it says, of flour into our bowl. This recipe says 4 teaspoonfuls of tartrate, or calcium phosphate, which is also baking powder. It has that in brackets. And then it says 2 teaspoonsful of phosphate SAS baking powder. So I'm going to guess that that's probably baking soda, but I'll just double check and look and make sure that that's the case. We need half a teaspoonful of salt, 2 tablespoonfuls of sugar, 3 tablespoonfuls of shortening. I'm going to use butter, and 2 eggs and a 1/3 cupful of milk. So apparently it's just another kind of baking powder. Because it calls for 4 teaspoons of baking powder and then 2 teaspoons of this double acting baking powder, I'm just going to double the amount of baking powder that it calls for. One of the challenges with ordering from Horizon distributors, I find, is that if I'm not really careful about reading the amounts or the kind of containers it comes in, because it'll say 10 kilograms of baking powder, for instance, but the fine print will say individually packaged in 3-pound packages or something to that effect, then I end up ordering things incorrectly, and I did in this case. So normally what I do is I order baking powder in a large box like this, but it's just in one big bag, and then I put it in my jars and put it into my pantry, and it lasts for a good long while. In this case, I did not look to see if it was individually packaged. So I actually have a whole bunch of individually packaged little baking sodas here, which is convenient, but not great as far as the amount of packaging it goes, or that's involved. So I'm going to do 8 teaspoons of this baking powder. I like these little containers though, they're really cute. Okay, what else do we need here? Some salt. I want to get this mixed together quickly because our potatoes are pretty much done. So we have our 6 tablespoons of butter in here. So I'm just going to mix it in similarly to the way that you would do with biscuits. So just so it's kind of like coarse oatmeal when it's all mixed in. Then we're going to whisk up our 4 eggs. And then we're going to add 2/3 a cup of milk to our eggs and then add that mixture in here. Get those folded or rolled out and cut and baking in the oven. And then once we have that happening, we'll add all of our other toppings to our potato, bless you, to our potato mixture. So we want to whip these up till they're nice and light. I'm going to add a little bit more liquid to that. That's a little bit dry. All right, there we go. Thank you, sweetheart. Nice crispy bits there. So I'm going to top this with a little bit of mozzarella and a little bit of cheddar. This is a lactose-free mozzarella, so I'm just going to leave that one with just the lactose-free mozzarella because Dan does not do well with lactose. So what I'm going to do with these is pop them in the oven and broil the top of them just so that the cheese gets all bubbly, but I'll wait and do that when our scones come out of the oven. Everything should be ready at the same time and not too hot to eat. So I'll show you when we have it all scooped up. Here's our scone. That looks pretty nice. I probably could have rolled them out a little bit more thickly, but they are really perfect. So we're going to try them. So this is a good recipe. Try them with a little bit of butter. And we have some fried egg to go with our potatoes there. That's really good. That is a good recipe. I love when I find good recipes. So let's try some of our potato hash here. Ooh, that's hot. Not spicy, just hot. One of the wonderful things about a meal like this is it is so filling and can sustain hungry kids for a long period of time, and it tastes delicious. thought after we were finished eating breakfast, we could take a walk outside. It is an absolutely gorgeous day, and I would give you a little bit of a mini tour of our farm for those of you that are new to our channel, because I know there's lots of new faces here. Welcome to all of you. So we are going to enjoy this awesome breakfast, and I'll be back with you again soon. It is so lovely again. I feel like I say that every time I come outside, and that's because it has been this way all autumn long. So beautiful. Okay, so for those of you that are new here, that is our house up there, obviously. And then up over, oh, we can't see it from right here. Up over right there is a little cabin called the bunkie that we're building right now. Dan is just doing the shingling today. He got the whole roof all done and insulated and papered, and now he's getting the shingles on. And then over here, we have a little cabin that was built in the 1960s. That we are currently renovating, and we always get asked what our plans are for the cabin. So initially, they're going to be for family when they come and visit, for any kids of ours that want to live on the ranch while they're going to school or saving money or anything like that. And then we're planning on doing like an Airbnb type of thing down the road, farm stay, farm education, that kind of thing. So down over in this area here, this is what I call my food forest. It's a permaculture forest garden. And I have lots of fruit trees and berry bushes, medicinal herbs. What else do I have in there? I have raspberries in there and blueberries, all kinds of things. And then in beside that is my main garden here. And this is where I spend a ton of time in the summer. I love to garden. That is my little greenhouse. I start a lot of my seedlings in that little greenhouse, and I use it to cure my onions in the fall, and it's kind of a catch-all building for my garden tools during the summertime. And then over here we have my high tunnel, and it is a 60 by 21 feet, I think. And I grow tomatoes and peppers in the high tunnel. We live in a zone 3B with frost dates of around June 1st and then the end of August, so a very short growing season. And it also gets really cool here at night during the summer, even though we can have really hot temperatures during the day. So growing peppers and tomatoes outside is really difficult. So I found the high tunnel to be the best way to do that. And then over at the end of my garden over here, I have my asparagus patch. And then what we call our crop garden is up over this way. It is so beautiful out right now, oh my gosh. Up over here is the crop garden, and that is where I grow, I rotate it out every year, but I grow potatoes in there, onions, carrots, squash. This year I did a huge patch of sunflowers up in that garden. So those are kind of my main growing spaces. And then down over this way, we have the shop right here. And that's where so much work gets done around here. And then up over here, we have our chicken coop. So our chicken coop, our barn, our root cellar, and a couple of the other sheds were all built in, we think, between the late 1920s and late 1930s, kind of in that decade. And they're all log buildings, and they're really cool because they're chinked with mud. You can see some of the clay chinking in there, and whenever we notice spaces, we always just stuff it full of hay. And this chicken coop keeps the chickens nice and toasty in the wintertime. And it also has under covered area right here so that the chickens can get some fresh air in the wintertime but still be protected from the snow. It's fantastic. So these are our new chicks that are now little juvenile chickens that have integrated into the main flock nicely. There are 4 roosters in there, but there were quite a few hens in that batch, which is awesome. So we'll head down to the barn now. You know, it's such a beautiful day. I'm just gonna open up the door here and let everybody come out. Okay, down over this way, we have our outdoor chicken run that's right up here. Our tack shed, which is another of the older buildings here. And this is our barn, one of my favorite buildings on the property. Hi guys, hey everybody. This is our pig pen right here, and we're getting out of pigs. These are our last 2 pigs, and once they're gone, we're going to be converting this into a sheep area for our Romney sheep. This is our old barn, which is currently a total disaster. Just brought all of our stuff from the summer and kind of tossed it in here. It really needs to be cleaned and organized. We have a couple of pens in here where we put our calves at night. We separate our calves during the night from their moms and then put them back with their moms during the day. And over this way, this is Patty. Patty was a calf that was born on St. Patrick's Day, hence his name. And he was born out of my very favorite milk cow, Fireweed. He's not happy because we've just separated him. Fireweed passed away 4 days after, I think it was 4 days after Patty was born. And we don't really know why she passed away. The vet initially thought it was a severe case of milk fever. But I actually think now that I've done some more research on it that it could have been a twisted intestine. Anyways, so we had Patty, and we were lucky enough to find 3 beautiful dairy cows from a dairy, and they were grass-fed A2 dairy cows. So we bought 3 of them, and one of them adopted Patty within a couple of days, which was absolutely amazing. And she, as you can see by his hefty size, did an amazing job raising him. The reason that he's calling like that, actually, we'll go around this way to see the sheep, but the reason he's calling like that is because his mama, Milkweed, is bred, and she's due to calf in the end of January, early February, and he is still nursing off of her, and we wanted to dry her off and give her a break before she calves again. So we had to separate him, and that's always a little bit of a noisy endeavor for the first couple of weeks until they adjust to it. He is certainly big enough to not be nursing, that's for sure. And then in here behind our barn, we have a covered area that we store all of our hay in. And then back down over this way, we have our sheep pen. So we do have the sheep out on pasture during the summertime, but in the winter, we have them closed up here. And then we keep them closed up into a smaller pen during the wintertime, both to protect them from predators. We have lots of coyotes and wolves and cougars in our area, and sheep are very vulnerable to those kinds of predators. So even during the summertime, they go out during the day, but they come into this pen during the night. And that handsome boy there is our ram, and he's just beautiful. And we have 4 ewes, so that beautiful girl right there, that one over there, and then this lady over here. Our plan is we are going to set up pens inside the barn for them to be able to lamb, because they're going to be lambing in the wintertime. We want to keep them inside protected and where we can give them some extra supplementary heat. And then once the pigs are done in there, we're going to get that pen all cleaned up, and that will be their pen just because it's a lot bigger as far as a winter pen. And then there's of course the big undercovered area all the way around our barn so that they have protection from the elements that way too. I just think they are the cutest sheep ever. Looking nice and fat and healthy. Okay, now we will head down to our north meadow, and I'll show you that it's beautiful down here. Our property is 160 acres, so it's a quarter section, and a lot of it is forested. We've been slowly converting some of the forested areas up the mountainside, anywhere that's flat, into pasture area, because we don't have a lot of pasture here, but we also don't have a lot of cows, and that's just because our land can't really sustain a larger number than we currently have. Out this way, this whole area here is what you can see from up at the house and by the garden. So I wish Sparkles showed up on the camera, because it's just sparkling like crazy with all the frost out here right now. Just beautiful. This lovely girl here is Thistle. So this is the cow that we lost this past summer for, I don't know, about 12 hours or so. She went off and hid in the forest to have her calf. And she has turned into the most lovely cow. We are hand milking her now because our milk machine doesn't like the cold and we don't have a heated area for milking. So we're hand milking her and she's just an absolute gem. And then this is her calf. This is Fern. Doesn't she look exactly like her mama? She was born completely blonde, didn't look anything like this at all. Hi, sweet girl, how are you? But she sure turned into a cutie and she has a really, really nice temperament. She is halter trained now. We can bring her up into the barn at night without even having to put her on the halter because she's so well trained to go into the pen at night. She is going to make a fabulous milk cow in a couple years. And then back over this way is one of my favorite areas of our property. I have two, well, actually I like them. I like lots of different areas of the property. In the summertime, I love the garden. In the fall, I love this north part of the meadow. It has such a beautiful view and it's really quiet there. And any time of year, except for maybe the dead of winter, right up at the top, very tip top of the mountain up there, has the most spectacular view of this entire valley. It's so beautiful and peaceful up there. Oh, there's my other ladies. Hello. Oh, you have such a beautiful coat, milkweed. How's that udder looking? Oh, fantastic. You can see she's got a baby in there. So she has dried right off. She doesn't have any milk in that udder, so that's great. And then over here, we have honey. And I thought Fern was going to end up looking like this because this is what she looked like when she was born. But nope. And her calf came out like a Holstein. She was bred to a Holstein and her calf looks just like a Holstein. Of all the cows, she is definitely the most friendly. Such a good girl. Can you see why I just love it out on this side of the property? So beautiful. That is it for today's video, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed it and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.